right, Jimmy. Hey, you said it for me. Take us out and bring us back. This is From the Margins with yours truly, James Lafont. And like I said, Jimmy, hey, how are you, sir?
It's a great week to be a Democrat. Let me start by saying this for months. As a matter of fact, from my first podcast, I've been saying that the leadership of the Democratic Party, the old farts, have to go. They have to go. They have to go.
Mhm.
And we have new leadership that's going to come up. I've been asking David Hogg to do his thing and bring in new young people to take over the party.
Mhm.
And I have been saying that certain people need to go. Well, establishment. Last Tuesday,
Mhm.
2 days ago, you got the message loud and clear.
Yeah.
The two perverts of Bill Clinton and Cuomo decided that they were going to work together and they were going to go to become the mayor of New York because he quit as the governor of New York, but he was going to make a comeback as a mayor of New York. Really, a person who 11 women complained that he sexually harassed them. That's the reason he had to leave the governorship of the state of New York.
Yeah.
And with all due respect, those establishment were okay with this man coming back. That shows you how out of touch is the people in the establishment that as long as they can control the party, they'll do whatever it takes. I was kind of interested to see that Bill Clinton helped him out. It
Yeah.
was kind of interesting to see that Colburn from South Carolina decided to endorse him. What the fuck does that have to do with North New York City? But that's proof that he's also part of the establishment, part of the people who need to go. Uh, but here's where it became interesting. It's the real change that the Democratic Party needs to learn. I'm not going to go into one candidate or the other yet. Let me go into the other thing.
Okay.
Como did not show up because he didn't want to answer the difficult questions. He was nowhere to be seen. He spent money
Hmm.
on campaigns and did what the so called consultants told him to do.
That's
The
correct.
consultants took a pack with $25 million. dollars. $25 million and went on TV and campaigned against them. Let's start with something, David. We're on social media. We're not on TV.
That's correct.
We, our numbers come from people giving us likes, views, and other things on social media. Social media is a way of the future.
Yeah.
So what did Mandami do? He said, "Hey, screw you guys. I don't have that kind of money." He went out at night. He talked to the food truck vendors. He talked to the night workers. He talked to the people. He went out there and he campaigned. You saw him in the subways campaigning. He walked all of Manhattan. He talked to the people. He went into restaurants. He went into bodegas. He went here. He went there. You invited him on your TV program podcast, even as controversial as it could be. He went there. As a
That's
matter of
correct.
fact, one of the things that I find interesting is that he went into podcasts that are pro Israel and he said, I'll sit down and I'll talk to you. And they argued the point of views, but
That's
he
correct.
was there.
That's correct.
Como was nowhere to be found.
Lazy.
Why am I bringing this up? Because I think there's another thing that the party needs to learn. The ways of the past of buying TV commercials and wasting money doing that, sending out flyers, okay, having the people of the unions come out and endorse you, have the other Democrats come out and endorse you, those days are gone.
Thank you.
They're ended.
Thank you,
They're
Jimmy.
no longer a thing. The way is knock on doors, be personable. Look, you can disagree with their point of view, but I have to give uh, kudos to the winner. He went out there. He knocked doors. He
Yes, he
was
did.
on Colbert. Okay, he
Yes.
was on every TV program in New York that invited him. When he wasn't invited, he went out and created his own social media. As a matter of fact, he was interviewed by a podcaster on the subway of New York. Okay, and he had no problem. He did whatever it took. You wanted to talk to him, he was there.
That's right.
Como was not there. Como was, well, I'm like, Como, I am going to win this election because of my family and the establishment is with me. Good thing is that the supervisors of election in New York City are not as corrupt as we thought, and he lost by 7 points. And in a primary, 7 points is a lot,
That's correct.
especially when you are the front runner. Other person to say, that was called is his race to lose. Well, he lost it. And this is what I'm trying to get. The establishment needs to accept that they fucked up, like Manuel Raman is sent from your state of
Yes.
Chicago, and from your city of Chicago, the Democrat Party owes the United States public and its members an apology,
Hmm.
and it should be coming forward. And this thing that we're going to continue with the establishment is gone. But most important here, Como was discussing that he had the experience, that he could fight with Trump, that he knew how to deal with different situations, that he had the endorsement of all the local politicians and Al Sharpton, and that he could direct New York into a new way. Guess what? And I mean, did. He came up and said, hey, let's talk about affordability. You
Yep.
cannot afford to pay the rent in your houses. You cannot afford to buy that food in your table. You cannot afford to take the buses or the subway because it's so expensive. He talked about the cost of living, and even Jim Carver today said he
Okay.
got it. It's about the economy. Stupid. I've been saying that for
Every
over
time.
years, and you guys keep talking about I could deal with Trump, I could deal with the unions, I could deal with this, I have experience, I know how to manage, I will come in day one knowing what to do.
Doesn't pay my bills.
Okay? And never discuss the because he didn't want to discuss the deaths in the nursing homes and things like that. The days of doing politics the old way is out. But here's the beautiful thing that I love about this, and I could say this again. Mamdani went out and got the millenniums to vote for him.
Yes, he did.
Turnout on
Yes, he
millennials
did.
was almost 45% more than the past election. Even though some people say, well, the turnout was low, the turnout in primaries are always low. Let's stop pretending that they're high. As a matter of fact, that's why most Republicans still kiss Donald Trump's ass because they know that in a primary they can be voted out by simply somebody saying, I'm more MAGA than you, and getting those few people to go out to vote. As a matter of
Right.
fact, the city of here of Orlando, that less than 1% of people elect the city commissioner and the mayor of the
Yeah.
registered.
A very
That
small number.
this is something that we need to understand. But this was something beautiful. It was a personal campaign, and it was about economics. The theme of his campaign was affordability.
Yes.
This is what you need to learn, Democrats. This is not about Trump.
Thank you.
Trump is not the issue anymore, nor should he be. He's not running for re-election. He cannot run for re-election. Talk about what you're going to do. Oh, he
A plan.
promised free buses. Well, hey, he'll find a way in the budget to do it.
Yeah.
He promised free daycare. Well, hey, he'll find a way in the budget to do so.
Yeah.
He explained that he's going to tax the rich 1%, and that will raise the billions that he needs to do these things. Maybe he might need to, instead of 3%. I don't care. But this
Mhm.
is what we need to be talking about. People don't give a shit about it, other things. As a matter of fact, right now, one of the scariest things that I'm about to say is that the people in this country, Iran's bombing, less than 20% of people are worried about it. The rest, they don't care. They care
Right.
about the cost of eggs. They care about the cost of gasoline. They
Yep.
care about the cost of electricity. They care about this summer if their air conditioner is going to break down. How they? That's what they care about, and that's what we need to be discussing. Democrats, or either you get your act together, or you're going to lose again. You've been shown the way to go forward. Now, some of the Republicans are going to try to say he's a socialist. He's this. He's that.
Of course.
Fine.
Right.
That look. That's fine. And the answer to that is a very simple. I'm a socialist and you're corrupt. You sell your country for money. I fight for my country. You are corrupt, and if they give you a present, such as a jet that's worth $4 million, you will let them do whatever they want. You will, if they go to a dinner and donate $1 million to you personally, you will sign a pardon for a son of somebody who was convicted by a jury of his peers in a Republican district for corruption. But
Hmm.
that's all right. Or you would, if for $3 million, you between the attorney and Pam Bundy, we will take dismiss all the charges against you. That is corruption. Loving your country is trying to keep it straight. Loving your country and patriotism is fighting to get your country to do better, not just accepting that you owe glory or this or that. Those are symbols. Fighting for the benefit of your country is what's going to get you where you need to go.
So, Jimmy, what you're saying is that Madani should embrace his Democratic Socialist affiliation, and like you said, just run with this. Like, hey, I love my country, and these are my plans to make New York much better than its predecessor, Eric Adams.
Who was corrupt, who stole, put money in his pocket, and the city of New York is not much better under him. Let's call it as it is.
Okay.
Okay, it's not much better than it was before him, and he is a corrupt person who the charges would drop just so he could allow more immigrants to be deported. It's simple as that. It was a negotiation with the Department of Justice and Homeland Security. They dropped the charges. He let them do what they needed to do.
Mhm.
This is where we need to learn. Look, party, math. Let me give you, Democrat Party, let me give you a lesson in math.
Okay.
If you keep pushing away the liberals of your party and saying, we want to say centrist, you are going to continue to lose. The biggest crowds the
Mhm.
Democratic Party has had since 2015 to present in the last 10 years are not Kamala,
That's right.
not Biden,
Nope.
are not Hillary.
That's correct.
It is Bernie Sanders, AOC. That's it.
Hmm.
That look, do people think that the rich people are screwing them? Yes, they are. Do people think that they don't see a future with their government? Yes. Do
Hmm.
people not trust the government? Yes.
Yes.
Do people think that the government is corrupt? Yes.
Yes.
That is basically what we're saying is we need to straighten out our government. Look, Donald Trump won because he said, look, we need to change things. As a matter of fact, let me give you the people who used that word in the last 25 years. Bill Clinton, change.
Yes. I
That was
remember.
okay. Two, Barack Obama, change and hope. That was
Yes.
his theme. Okay. What did Trump say? We're going to make America great again, which is a change.
That's correct.
So basically, people do not want the status quo. People are not centrist. Look, I hate to say this. If you keep thinking that if you go to the center, the people from MAGA are going to vote Democrat, you're really high. And I'm not knowing what drugs, but you're high. They're not going to vote for Democrat. Okay,
That's correct.
and if you think that the liberals of the party are going to continue, that's what got Biden kicked out. Okay,
Among
but
other things. Yes.
among other things, among and other things, which I'm going to admit, I keep calling the Republicans corrupt. And somebody told me this, and they're right. What about the Democrats stealing the election in 2020 by calling that COVID was there and decided that they was going to put Biden ahead, even though he did not have the amount of delegates, or the corruption in 2024 when everybody knew he was senile, and they put him in a debate in June, and they made it clear, and by then the primaries had passed, so basically they forced on us Kamala. Is that corruption? Yeah, it is
Yeah,
the establishment trying to keep control of the party.
that's
But guess
correct.
what? We're going to take it away from you. We're going to run a candidate that is going to represent us and not you. And a candidate that once he or she gets elected will get rid of all of you. I've said it again, and I'm going to repeat myself. Nancy, out. Jeffries, out. Schumer,
Humor.
out. Okay? As a matter of fact, you said a comment to me about a couple of weeks ago about Durbin in your state.
Yes.
And you know what he said? Why he's not running? Because he believes it's time to let others do the job.
Yeah,
He knows that he served, what, 20 some years as a senator, and his time is up and he should go. Right
that's right.
now, you listen to Chuck Schumer, and he is as senile as Biden. I'm sorry.
Right. No,
He's
no,
as
no. You're correct.
okay. And for the matter, so was Mitch McConnell. Okay, let's not start pretending. But
He
they
was
don't want to
overdue.
let go. And what is Nancy doing? She has her hand up Jeffries, and he's her puppet. Uh, no, they need to go, and new blood needs to come in. Uh, as a matter of fact, David, I hear you might be running for Congress down in South Florida. Call me. I'll help you out.
There you
I'll
go.
I'll give you some strategies, and I might even give you a couple of dollars. All those dollars that I'm making in TikTok. I'm just joking. Don't get me.
Give him a call, David. Give him a call. Jimmy, now let's take Madami's candidacy. He worked outside of the Democratic establishment to win the Democratic primary in New York City. Does it take another personality? Definitely, it seems like Madami, AOC, Bernie, to work outside of the party like Donald Trump did. He redefined the Republican Party. Does it take a outsized personality from outside the parties to be successful?
Well, let me put it in two terms. You're correct, but let me explain why. First,
Mhm.
anybody that comes from the establishment is going to be suspect.
Mhm.
Okay, the people are not going to trust him or her because they're part of the establishment, and they're going to see them as the problem and not the solution. The second part of it is that most of the establishment is corrupt. And the corruption is not so much wanting to put money in their pocket as to wanting to maintain power. They don't want to let go of power. I mean, you need to understand that. Look, who came to the aid of Como? Bill Clinton,
Mhm.
Colburn from the great state of South Carolina.
Mm, mm, mm.
Those two. As a matter of fact, it's kind of interesting that his brother and News Nation has not discussed his brother's loss. He's stayed out of it. He did refer to, in various occasions, to his opponent as a socialist, communist,
Yeah.
with those words, not socialist democrat, communist, and basically, he is part of the problem. We need new blood, and the new blood does not have to be young. And I'm going to say this: doesn't have to be young.
Agreed.
Donald Trump was not young.
That's
Bernie
right.
Sanders is not young,
That's
and
true. That's true.
I have no problem with him. Uh, is somebody who could push the party to where it deserves to be. This is the party of the worker. This is the party of working males, working females,
Mhm.
people who care about uh, the quality of life that they have, people who want people leading them who are not saying, hey, John, give me $1 million and I'll fix that for you. Uh, that's not what they want. They want people to work for them, solve their problems, and be there for them. And right now, one thing that the truth that I never thought is that even at least 45% of the MAGAs don't want us in a war.
That's right.
They don't
That's right.
want us in a war. And the bombardment of Iran, they've been lucky that up to now has not provoked a war. And basically, they, that has been good. But if it causes a war, and that we need to put boots on the ground, that's what caused Bush the second his presidency, and that's this thing and his thing, because just like everybody else, it took us 20 almost 4 years to find out that there was no weapons of mass destruction, which was the excuse that he used to go in there. Right now, the truth is nobody really knows if the bombs really were effective. I keep hearing that the announcement that they were going to do it and when they were going to bomb, somebody around saying, you think we're that stupid? We were hearing you, and we removed all the stuff weeks before the bomb
The
was
uranium.
which would make sense.
Yes, it makes sense. Sure.
It makes sense. So that is one thing. And the thing that is interesting, it shows us how divided this country are. If you're a mega and a Fox person, the the places who are obliterated, they were set back forever, and they can never produce nuclear weapons. If you see NBC, CNBC, and CNN, it's out 3 to 6 months, and that's what you believe. It's not. I'm not trying to argue which one is correct. I'm just
Right.
trying to show you the divide. We're so
Yes.
divided that if Fox News says something, those who are MAGAs believe it unquestionably, and if you are a Democrat and CNN, CNBC, or NBC says something, you believe it. So
That's
that's
America.
so much to divide this country. We believe what we choose to believe, uh,
Yeah.
and to be quite honest, there's no proof that is 3 to 6 months behind, and there's no proof that it was already behind. It's just, depends. But here's what scares me.
What's that, Jimmy?
For the second time that I can recall, Donald Trump has rejected U.S. intelligence services.
Mm.
I'm not a fan of Gatsby. I'm not. She said she's the national security person,
Right.
appointed by him, and she said that there was no real nuclear uh, uh, threat
A
from
threat.
Iran. The idiot from Israel, I'm not going to call him this, has been saying since 2006 that
Yeah.
Iran is a threat. He saw a chance right now, and I respect that. He saw a
Hmm.
chance that he could attack because Donald Trump would go along with it, and because Iran was weak at this point. So he
That's correct.
decided to take a chance and do it. But since 2006, we have been this threat. And we tend to forget history and recent history. In 2017, Donald Trump set
That's right.
aside the accord between Iran and the United States, in which Iran had promised not to develop. And since we said we're out, that allowed Iran to develop uh, the nuclear components. So if anybody's at fault that they've been doing it for since 17 to present, it's called Donald Trump. But we won't say that because the MAGA people don't want to accept that.
But
Uh,
Jimmy, in those accords, Iran was allowed to have a certain amount of money that helped create that, or help reestablish their capacity to create weapons grade uranium. And that was under that accord was under Obama. There was lots of cash given to Iran. Some
Well,
of the sanctions were reduced, and Iran decided to say, "Hey, okay, I'm gonna establish our nuclear program again."
well, there's two parts to that. You're right.
Hmm.
One, in negotiating, you have to give something. You cannot say, "Hey, I'm going to give you shit, but you're going to do this." That normally does not work in negotiating.
Hmm.
Second, this was money that the United States government had frozen that was owned to Iraq. It was their money. We didn't
Yeah,
give them any. We didn't give them a penny. This was money
that
that
was their money.
it
Hmm.
was their money, and we say, "Hey, here's your money. We'll give it to you in exchange for this." Uh, the people in Iran were criticizing the government because they got nothing in exchange. They just got the money that was owed to them, and
Hmm.
that international courts had said was owed to them, and that what the United States had done was illegal, but the United States did it anyway. The, the truth is that without anything giving or benefiting the United States, just out of he was angry because some idiots called Hannity and Ingram told him that that was a bad agreement, and he agreed with
I
them.
remember.
He just canceled it,
Hmm.
okay, and he got nothing in exchange.
That's true.
He got nothing in exchange, and Iran said, "Okay, I don't now I can do whatever I want." Yes, okay, and they went. So the one who gave them permission to do it was Donald Trump. So look, it's kind of
Hmm.
hypocritical now for uh, uh, Netanyahu to say, "Well, it's they're closer." He's been saying that since 2006. If you go into YouTube and put it down, you're going to find that he's been saying this, and there's no doubt that by what Donald Trump did, that they accelerated. Yes, but they got permission from us. So yeah, uh, but
And, and also, Jimmy, along with the ability to renew their capacity to enrich uranium, they also had the means to help fund those organizations like Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, to cause terror across the Mideast and across Europe and America to some extent. Um, that you know that wasn't part of the accord. That wasn't part of the deal. However, they were still funding those efforts. Also, I understand why Netanyahu moved forward. I believe, like you said, he's been saying this since what 2006, and I believe this did not happen in the void. Um, and to have a country continue to tell you and tell the rest of the world that the United States is the great Satan and that Israel needs to be destroyed. And then the funding of Hamas that continually was reelected and kept in leadership by the Palestinians in Gaza, right there in Israel's backyard. I see the point of view that Netanyahu and his supporters have. The Iran has always been the threat, has always been a threat since I've been living. And right now, we could say there's a ceasefire. How long that will last, and would it lead to a longer lasting agreement? I think that's also what people are thinking about right now. The 20-40% who are following this.
yeah, but there's a second thing here that we need to clarify.
Okay.
Everything that you said is correct. I'm not
Okay.
going to deny it. And look, Israel has the perfect right to protect itself. Israel, that's why they have nuclear weapons to protect themselves. And I
Sure.
have no problem with that. Okay? I have no problem with that.
Mhm.
And yes, Iran has said nasty things about the U.S. and about Israel. Yes. And part of the revolution of in the 70s and the 80s, it and Iran was because of the abuses that the United States had put in there. A czar who was a puppet, and okay,
That's correct.
let's stop pretending that
That's right.
there was no okay, but let's stop being hypocritical. Do you know who also funds Hamas and all these other groups?
Who's that?
Qatar.
That's right.
Why can we work with Qatar to get these places to work out these deals? It's because Qatar is one of their sponsors. and they say, hey, you need to do this because we sponsor you. We'll withdraw our money. So the same country that Trump is going to put two towers in, the same country that just gave him a jet worth $400 million, a country that he just visited, who we know does this. To a certain degree, which country knocked down the Twin Towers?
Saudi Arabia. They were from Saudi Arabia except for one, and that
And no,
is
no. And they got their money to do everything out of the banks from Saudi Arabia. Now, some
mhm.
people will try to argue with you, well, they were rich people and they could, that was their own money. No, 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 no. With all due
Ah,
respect, the control that the government has in Saudi Arabia, they knew where the money was going and they knew what was going to happen. So
mhm.
when we tend to think that we have enemies, yes, we do.
Oh
But
yeah.
Iran is not the only one. As a matter of fact, supposedly, that's why we took down Iraq.
That was our boogeyman in there. Saddam
Okay,
was our boogeyman.
okay. So it's not a unique thing situation. Do we need
Yeah.
to protect against Iran? Yes. Does Israel have a right to protect itself against Iran? Yes. Does Israel have a right to have a nuclear bomb? Yes. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem is when we simplify it that it's only Iran.
Mhm.
Qatar negotiated all these things because Qatar finances Hamas, Hezbollah, and all those other groups openly. It's not even something that no, it's open. Okay, uh, in 2000,
Mhm.
Saudi Arabia took down our twin towers,
Mhm.
and where was Bin Laden from? A citizen of Saudi
Of Saudi
Arabia.
Arabia, yes.
Okay, and strangely, and this is the part that has always amazed me, is the thing that we don't discuss. He was living in Pakistan in a beautiful house with monies that he was receiving that came from Saudi Arabia.
That's correct.
To the day that he was killed. Okay,
That's
to the
right.
day that he was killed, he was receiving funds. So when people tell me that Iran is bad, I'm not going to argue with you. Iran
Right.
is evil, but it's not the only evil country. We took out Iraq because it was evil. Uh, we, we have a relationship with Qatar, who happens to be supportive of all the other groups that we talk about that Iran does,
Mhm.
and we're very close to Saudi Arabia, and he went there
Right.
and touched a magical globe in Saudi Arabia and danced with with all of them. Then those were the ones who took down the Twin Towers. So let's stop pretending that it's only Iran. Iran is one of them,
Yeah.
not the only place.
Right. And with Qatar, you're right. And to kind of step back a little, when Trump went to the Mid East recently before the escalation with Iran, it seemed, of course, he was there with a mission, and I believe that mission was to say, "Hey, Syria has fallen, Lebanon's in check, Jordan's in check. We have allies there, we have allies here." Hamas has been neutralized. Hezbollah has been neutralized. The Houthis, hey, neutralize them. Going to Saudi Arabia, allies. Iraq is an ally. Can we all work together? Let's all live in prosperity. Qatar, take care of your business. The United Arab Emirates, they're on board. Everyone is falling in line. All these past threats have been neutralized to some extent. Um, do you think the president went to the Mideast, understanding that eventually Iran was going to be isolated, their nuclear capacity was going to be diminished, and offer prosperity that everyone can enjoy?
Uh, really, the interesting thing is you're taking something that I don't see the same way. I see Saudi Arabia has learned to control itself, not attack us. But as far as they're concerned, we're infidels. Okay, the same with Qatar. And the thing that's strange that people keep telling me that the Houthis are gone, that the Hezbollah is gone, Hamas is gone.
I just said that,
So
yeah.
who is? for the sake of argument, who in the hell is Qatar negotiating with?
The
Because the
Houthis.
people who negotiate for us is not us. We
Right.
have no direct contact with Hamas, neither does
Yeah.
Israel, anything. The people who sit down with the leadership of Hamas in Palestine and got the release of the first people hostages was Qatar. So who are they negotiating with?
Hmm.
Because according to our press and everybody's telling us that Hamas is gone, that it doesn't exist, is
No.
disappeared, is non-existent.
No, they're still relevant.
Okay,
Diminished.
diminished, but not. But Qatar is negotiating with the leadership of Hamas in Palestine, and with the Houthis and with the Hezbollah and all this other thing. What Qatar has become is it gets cash from the United States to
Okay.
keep these groups under control. But at the end of the day, for years, they've been financing these groups. And
Hmm.
I'm not sure if they really have stopped. I'm just
Fair
throwing this
enough.
out.
Fair
Have,
enough.
has really Qatar stopped financing these groups? Saudi Arabia doesn't because they're a different sect of Muslim. Okay,
Mhm.
but we do know that they have been financing other groups in other places, and particularly they have been financing in Pakistan. We do know that because that's their same sect, and that's where they owe the government of Pakistan who kept their citizens there. And there's a high percentage of people from Saudi Arabia living in Pakistan. The
Sure.
numbers are
Okay.
there. So the question is, what is the truth? Are these really our allies, or these are just people who know that right now is in their best interest to not fuck with us? And I think that is really where it comes from.
Yeah.
Qatar knows that they don't have the size. We don't. They don't have an army. They don't have anything, and so does Saudi Arabia.
Right.
But at the same time, it is here. Now, this is the part that concerns me.
Okay.
How is Iran going to respond? We know one thing. Can I ask you a question? What happened after 9/11, 9/12, 2000?
Right now, the day after,
Day after.
and forgive me, all I can remember is Congress convening and signing away all of our rights in the Patriot Act, but that's a different story. I know everything was shut down, airspace, everything, everything was
No,
shut down. Okay.
it was the last time, the last 25 years, that this country, Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, and
Mm,
liberals, were united against the people who attacked us. We were working together as a nation, and George Bush had an approval of 82%. And even the crazy guy, uh, mayor of New York,
oh,
Giuliani,
Giuliani.
had an approval of
Yeah,
almost
that's true.
90%
That's true.
because the country united. Why am I bringing this up?
Hmm.
Because according to what I've been reading, the bombardment of Iran has united the people of Iran. Is that good? Not for us. For them, yes. The thing of a change of regime right now after an attack, no. Look,
Hmm.
it's like Israel. Israel, there's a lot of people who do not like Netanyahu. As a matter of fact, he did not win straight out. He has a coalition of conservatives
Correct.
that he put together. So it
All
was
right.
not like he was elected by a majority. And there's a lot of people that will do a Winston Churchill on him once the war is over. We just kick him out. Uh, the truth of the matter is that right now the people of Israel have been attacked and they're united against those who attacked them. And I understand and I respect that because we did the same. The
Yeah.
problem is, I don't think that Americans are realizing that these bombs had an effect of uniting Iran. Does that mean that that's going to hurt us? I don't know. I really don't know. But I do know
Mm,
one thing. When you corner somebody, you might expect the unexpected. So at this
correct.
point, the truth is that we don't know. But to think that there's going to be a regime change, that this is going to provoke that the people of Iran go out on the streets and do something, it's kind of interesting. This people are on the streets in Iran and in Israel because of the ceasefire.
Hmm.
They've been able to go out because they don't have to hide because of bombardments. But we haven't seen much of one thing or another, either Israel or another. So basically, at this point, they're just going on with their lives and surviving. The truth is this: we do not really know the consequences of this bombardment. We don't know if
Sure.
it was a success or if it wasn't a success. But we don't know if this is going to discourage the people of Iran or if it's going to be an encouragement for the people of Iran. We don't know. So at this point, people, neither side to really claim a victory. But one thing that I do know, this war has been going on for hundreds of years.
Hmm.
And if you
Correct.
think that three bombardments is going to end it, I don't think so. I think that the next generation is going to come around and anything. As a matter of fact, somebody told me something that makes very much sense that the destruction of Palestine has been the best recruiting propaganda for Hamas. How true that is, I do not know.
Of course.
But, if something like that happened in my country, I would be in the streets very united. So this is something that we need to think of. But let me go back
Okay.
to my
Okay.
party.
All right.
Democrats, you need to change. Change is coming, like it or not. If you continue trying to prove Einstein correct and proving and keeping the same thing, you're going nowhere.
Hmm.
Look, we, the liberal part of the Democratic Party, have been trying to teach you something. With all due respect, Bernie was outspent in 2016 almost 25 to 1. Right now, we know Mamdani was outspent 50 to 1 in the race in the city of New York. There was a PAC alone with $25
Ooh.
million.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And that's not counting the almost 40 million that Como raised on his own. He
Mm.
had the union people out there on the streets, he had everybody. Okay. He had even Bloomberg putting money to try to get rid of this outside. TV is dead.
Oh, thank you,
Radio
Jimmy.
is dead.
Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy.
Okay. Most people today stream. You know what that is, people? Thank you. Your phone, your tablet, or even your laptop. Or, as a matter of fact, I know people who take their 50-inch screen TV and they stream on their TV. Because you can do that there too. Okay. But people tell me, no, we're going to go on TV. We're going to send out mailers. We're going to, look, I hate to say this, we are teaching you, party. The new way is going door to door as a candidate talking and the message. The message cannot be that Trump is bad. Message cannot be that Trump is stupid.
Hmm.
The message cannot be that Trump is uh, evil. Now, if you want to call him corrupt, that I would have said. Okay, I have no problem. That he's not, he's anti American, I have no problem with that. But what you should do is what Jimmy Afan and Jimmy Carter have been telling you to do. Is the economy stupid? Okay? 4 words. Is the economy stupid?
Hmm.
Is the people's back pocket? You cannot afford eggs. You cannot afford gas. You cannot afford the rent. You cannot afford a mortgage. Your kids can work their butts off and they cannot buy a house. They cannot afford it. They can have a good education. They cannot afford a house.
Right.
Why? Because we have allowed the rich to fuck us. How have they fucked us? Every house around in Central Florida is being bought by Vipro or by Airbnb so they can rent them out as for people as tourists. The banks are buying them so they can rent them and have a depreciation for their taxes. Okay? Simply put. And right now, a decent property in Orange County, a 2 bedroom apartment with no luxuries, maybe a cranky swimming pool for 400 people,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
$2,000. That
Mm.
requires you to earn at least $25 an hour to rent. To rent. But my party and other idiots are telling you we can $30 an hour is forcing that as a salary is evil. It's going to fuck the economy. What economy? Your economy? Because the economy of the average citizen in this country is fucked because the rich are getting rich and the poor are getting poorer. And the middle class is being squeezed out. Why? Because our government is allowing it. Look right now, the big and beautiful bill. What does it
Mhm.
do more than anything else? Cuts taxes on the rich. Okay? The biggest tax cut is on the rich. There's this little lemon in there for the middle class. Okay? They gave you
Yeah.
an additional $1,000 tax credit for the kids. Fuck, $1,000 doesn't pay half a month of rent. $1,000 is what we spend on food. $250 a week for a family of four. So it's not that big. Stop lying to us. But you're going to fuck over with our health insurance, and you're going to force clinics to be closed down all around the country. It's the economy stupid. They are trying to fuck us over, and we're fine with this because we don't. We are part of the establishment. Guess what?
Mm.
Establishment, it's over. You cannot fuck with us anymore. We don't. We won't accept it. We won't. We're rejecting it. Oh, but you're trying to tax the rich. No, 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 no. That's not true. Stop lying. We're not trying to tax the rich. We're trying them to pay the same amount that we pay. We don't have the same discounts that they have. They pay less. Depreciation? What depreciation? We don't
Mhm.
own properties. We cannot afford to own properties, but the banks do, and they depreciate all those properties. We lose money in investment. We cannot deduct it. They pay health insurance for their employees, and their portion is tax deductible. Look, most corporations in this country are paying zero tax. Why? Because the corrupt politicians give them tax exceptions. We know that. So when people ask me, what can we do? I'll start with Social Security. People who make $168,000 or less pay 100% towards Social Security taxes. If
Mhm.
you make 169, the first 168 you pay and the rest you don't. That's what's fucking up Social Security because the fair share is not being distributed. Other things is corporations are leaving. They're leaving and basically they're not paying their fair share of taxes. They're making the money, they're taking it out of our country, but they're not paying their fair share of taxes. Look, either we do something drastic or we're doomed because what we've been doing for the last 50 years has put us in the position that we are today. It's not working. This idea that if we reduce the taxes to the rich, they're going to spend more and that's going to help the economy. Yeah, it's going to help the jewelry store where they buy their jewels. It's going to help the Lexus dealership where they buy
Mhm.
their Lexus or the Tesla where they buy their Teslas. They are not going to help us. Our government is too corrupt. It's been sold to the highest bidder, and we need to bring it in. So, if you think what you saw in New York City is something of an abomination, I'm praying that that is the future.
All right, Jimmy. Wow. Wow. And if potential candidates new to the political space or even not new to the political space see what happened in New York and try to take all or just some of the elements of what you stated earlier in our episode here about going to the people, being where the people are at, and how many times have we just hammered that over and over and over again. TV's out, radio's out, emails, mailers. This is 2025. We are in a technological counter revolution, and we learned that the establishment and the establishment ways, the hordes of money that the consultants are gathering, those old ways are not working. And we just had an election, a special election here in Florida, in West Orange, Senate District 15 and House District 40. And the results, we have former Representative LaVon Bracy Davis win the Democratic nomination for the Senate District 15, and her Chief of Staff, Rashawn Young, won the Democratic nomination for HD 40. And so, I mean, Levon Brace is not unfamiliar to politics in West Orange, let alone Central Florida, because of her, family, the Braceys. Um,
Part of the
but
establishment, for the record.
Yes, very much so part of the establishment, and so is her chief of staff. Even though he was heralded as being, I think, in some of the legacy media as being a fresh new face, a fresh new start, a new direction for the party. Not really. Um, and to talk about the old ways of doing business, and I'm just talking about the campaign structure and the strategies and how those things were executed. It's emblematic. The Alan Grayson, I was following the Senate district race very closely, Jimmy, and the Alan Grayson candidacy. It was just remarkable in talking to former Congressman Grayson and learning about the campaign and understanding that loyalty, yes, loyalty means a lot to the people that you surround yourself with and help run your campaign. However, instituting the same methods, the tried and true methods for a bygone era, just didn't work out for him and coming in the distant third place. And it just breaks my heart to see good people, meaning the campaign staff and resources, tons of money and resources, just go to waste. And I think this is another lesson that we can learn, like we did in New York, whether you're Democrat or Republican, that you better change. You better change your ways. You better understand, learn to understand that there is a new way of doing business with the voters. There's a new way of getting to them, talking to them on their terms. And it, Jimmy, I think what you're saying that it's happening. Things are going to change. Me being the optimist that I am, I think it's going to be a slow crawl. I just think so because
Well,
it just
and that's why I say your establishment needs to go,
mhm,
because you can't teach an old horse new tricks.
mhm,
They're this is what they've been doing for years. That's why Bill Nelson lost, because when we sat down with him, he refused to do social media. Okay, he refused to do social media. And for the record, what we're doing right now is called
yes,
social media.
yeah,
That's for
it is.
everybody. You're not seeing me on TV. You're not seeing me. I'm not a sensation on channel 2, 4, 6, or 8. I'm not a sensation on any of the channels that are going through Spectrum or any of those other people
Right.
that Grayson spend millions of dollars. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, on YouTube, and X. There's where I am. And the cost for doing that,
Right. And the impressions that you are able to create, because it's not really about likes and shares anymore. It's the impressions, and the impressions that you're able to create are about a quarter of the impressions that the Orlando Signal has across its demographic. And so a small podcast has that impression over several viewers and many viewers, and it justifies doing things differently, going to platforms that are not legacy platforms, not legacy traditional platforms, and going to where people are at.
And look, this is nothing new. This is what bothers me.
Okay.
This is not new. It's just that they want to continue being stupid.
Hmm.
Okay, let me take my party. Okay, in 2008, our party came somebody running for president of the United States, and at the beginning he had 1%, and everybody said, "There's no way the Democratic Party is going to run an African American as a candidate."
Hmm.
Okay, now, there's one thing that he did in 2008, almost 20 years ago, okay, it'll be 10 ago, 17 years ago, he used social media that was available at that time. He was on Facebook,
That's right.
he was on Twitter, he was on Instagram, he created his own videos
That's right.
and
Yeah.
uploaded them to YouTube. Okay, okay. Basically, he went with change and hope. He made speeches of how things were bad and how they could get better. And according to some of my friends in the Democrat Party, he stole the nomination from Hillary, who was always a horrible campaigner. That's why she lost her candidacy. Even
Yep.
though she stole it from Bernie, she still lost
Yeah.
nationwide. Uh, it was done in 2008.
Hmm.
Hillary abandoned it. She went back to the traditional thing because that's what helped her husband, and she used the same consultants, and she went wrong. Biden did not understand social media. I'm trying to be nice. He
Sure.
didn't. And Kamala tried it when she ran for president, but the people she surrounded herself with did not understand,
It's
and
disingenuous.
did not did not know how to deal with it. So the way of the future is really, really, really this social media. But most important, 2024, everything is okay. They are fascist. They are weird, and we're going to take you. We're going to continue doing the same things that we've been doing right now, which was fucking up the country. But that's what's beside the point. Uh, and no, we're not going to do anything different than Joe Biden. Really? Okay, that was the message.
Yes.
Again, I'm a political strategist like you, like Jim Carver. Is the economy stupid?
Bottom line.
There's one thing that this young man did. He was discussing affordability. He was discussing that if he was elected, he will find a way to make the buses in New York free. He was discussing that he was going to find a way to make daycare free for single mothers. Is anybody objecting to that? Is anybody against that? Because not even the ultra magas could say, well, no, that's a bad idea. No, they couldn't. Okay, that he was going to find a way to take the closed bodegas and fill them up with food that was donated through food banks and stuff like that, and have people just go there and get their food for free. What he was trying to say is not that food is going to be free for everybody. What he said, if you listen, took 2 minutes, more than just decide to criticize, is that he was going to go to the food banks and say, hey, we're going to give you these bodegas and we're going to give you facilities where you could distribute it directly, whatever you have. And people will go in and today they had bread and you got bread. Today they don't have bread, you don't get bread. Okay, there was
Hmm.
tomato sauce, you get tomatoes, and so on. Uh, that what he's trying to say, we're going to distribute it And there are there food banks that have food for everybody. Yes, there are, but it's not so much the thing. It's the message. You are hurting. Let me try to help you. You are struggling. Let me try to help you. Let me listen to what you're complaining about. Look, if you listen to his things on social media, the thing I applaud him the most is he would go to people and say, "What's wrong? How can we do things? Why are these things so expensive?" And he would listen, and people would tell him, "Hey, the tariffs right now is screwing everything up. We're here in New York, and the things that we depend on from Canada are more expensive because of tariffs." He was listening, which is something that a lot of politicians have stopped doing. If
Hmm.
you care about somebody, you listen to what they have to say.
That's right.
And that is something that Cuomo's not done, that James Carbon's not done, that Hillary never did. Uh, uh, Kamala was out there campaigning and never talking to the public. So
Hmm.
really, people, there's two things we need to change, and it's not about Mandela. It's about the way we do campaign. One, listen and learn. I've been saying that for many weeks. It's not new. It's not that I learned it from this campaign. I've been saying this, and
Yes, you have.
that is true. The second thing, make it about the economy. It's about the economy, stupid. I'm
Yeah.
going to keep repeating that. It's about the economy, stupid. You
Yes.
know, uh, this look to a certain degree. We're going to make America great again. Is what's about the economy. We're going to make it where you can afford things. We're going to make it where we don't have to be supporting these other people, and that way, it is about the economy. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, that's what people care about. Everything
Period.
else, some of the other people care, but not us. So, with that, I'm going to end up with this. Your enemy is not federal employees, your enemy is corrupt politicians. The way to straighten out this country is to take it back from the people who have been in the establishment for the last 50 years, who have not served you correctly, and who have served the rich and the powerful. There's more of us, the middle class and the poor, than the rich and the powerful. It's time that we vote for our interests and do not
That's
allow
right.
them to scare us. So, with that, subscribe, like, dislike. I don't care. Make your comments. You think something I said was stupid? That's fine. You have a constitutional right to say that, and I have a constitutional right to disagree with you. So we agree to disagree. But I will see you next week, and
Yes.
hopefully we will have something great to say.
Excellent, Jimmy. Thank you so much. We'll see you the next time.